Hello, everybody. Artistry and Finesse coming to you live after Game 5, a 4-0 Pens win over the Islanders. Finesse, in a word, huge.
Enormous win. And I know you said that we don't have to mention it, but I just have to mention we just did about 5 minutes and I forgot to click record. So we're going to try to recapture that magic for everybody. So if it seems
that emotion,
if it seems forced, it's because I screwed up and we just started and I never hit record. But yeah, so what we were saying before, it's a huge win. I don't think that you should be as happy as you were sad after Game 4, because this to me is just a relief. It shows we are still a good team. If we get a baseline of goaltending and limit the stupid plays, and you play a 60-minute game, the Penguins are probably going to win.
No question. It wasn't perfect. Some of the problems from the first 4 games remain, but let's focus on a few highlights. Sidney Crosby, after a first period where we questioned whether he was out of gas, comes through with an absolutely legendary surge in the second and third.
I think you just said the exact same 3 sentences that you said when we recorded the first 5 minutes of this that never got recorded.
It's what I feel. It's what I feel.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Like, that goal was sensational, and I feel like that's the goal of this game that put the game out of reach. But it's not going to go down as much in history as the Mario statue goal, and I want to get your thoughts on how you compare it to Mario's goal. But because Tyler Kennedy's goal to me was a bigger goal. But before we get to Kennedy, what did you make of Crosby's goal as compared to Lemieux's statue goal?
Well, he was moving a lot more quickly through the neutral zone. Mario, much more of a power move. Those guys were hanging off him as you would an oak tree when he split the defense. And, he went upper corner under the bar. Crosby, I don't think had as much of a challenge necessarily to beat a leaning Nabokov, who's really – he played actually pretty well until Kennedy broke the seal, but then just fell apart completely. And he's really the guy that is most responsible for the Pens leading this series.
Does the Kennedy insertion into the lineup and the way he played tonight with whatever drugs he took before the game or whatever smelling salts he had, like stuffed up his nose while he was hyperactive on his shift, does this move go down as like the most obvious yet biggest payoff move that Bylsma has made, at least to the regular lineup? I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about Voku now that I mention it. These are 2 obvious moves that paid huge, huge dividends tonight.
Yeah, well, and don't forget Joe Vitale, because and Dupre for that matter. All those moves were impactful moves, and they look like very smart moves. But let's take them one at a time. Kennedy, we can't give ourselves too much credit because we weren't clamoring from day one for him to be playing. But we have said all along that for whatever reason, this is one of those rare guys who noticeably elevates in the playoffs. And it's like everybody's pumped up to play a playoff game, but for whatever reason, Kennedy, maybe he's too stupid, I don't know, maybe he's on drugs, but he has no fear, and he's able to channel that Energizer Bunny-like personality that he has into more effective play in the playoffs and clutch play. So absolutely, in retrospect, it's obvious, and it probably should have been obvious from day one that he should have been in the lineup over Tanner Glass. We probably didn't protest that enough.
No, but let me tell you why I think Kennedy's a good playoff guy. Because he has his second gear. He showed it tonight. During the regular season, when he's not amped up, when he's not going 110%, and no player, I should just say 100%, when he's not going 100%, he's not that good. He's pretty bad. But nobody can go 100% all the time. But in the playoffs, he can ratchet it up to actually going all out, and he's noticeable all the time. Every shift tonight, he was noticeable. I was very encouraged by his play, and I think that if we're fortunate enough to come out of this series, he's earned himself a spot in the lineup for, several games going forward.
There's no question about that. The next issue has got to be Vokoun, who was solid, if not spectacular, and had maybe you have to give him credit for the play of the game for that save on Tavares that really could have turned the game.
Right after the goal, you mean? Right, it was right after we got up like 2-0 or something.
Right before Sid's goal.
Right? Yeah, we just got up 2-0. Yeah, he made huge timely saves. That's all you have to do. I mean, we were not good in the first period. I don't think it was anything other than nerves, though. Like, it was passes rolling off sticks. We didn't make glaring, stupid errors, but it was little things that weren't clicking. We definitely weren't on the same page. But this is what we've been saying about goaltending. It doesn't need to be spectacular. It has to get you through these down moments so that you can, quote, get to your game. And that's what Vokoun did tonight. He had a great first period, and then the rest of the game, the Pens took over. Because he weathered the storm. That's all you have to do.
I actually thought Vokoun was a little bit tight, understandably, in the first period and was fighting the puck a little bit. He had a couple of those plays where he awkwardly, like if the puck was on the ice, he had reached down with his glove and, sort of with his stick and didn't really have like a smooth approach to some of those puck handling situations. But I thought he settled in, and you're right. He just didn't make a glaring error that took the air out of our balloon.
Yeah, he looked behind him 3 times.
Right.
On the first 3 shots. He thought that they scored like 3 times on him. But, you get bounces. Sometimes you get lucky. Like we rag on Fleury, but some of those goals are just unlucky, and Vokoun got some lucky bounces tonight. So that's what makes it different.
I think something that's underrated because of really how spectacular Kennedy and Vokoun were and how effective generally Vitali was on that fourth line. He actually made that fourth line, particularly when they dropped Morrow down to play with Vitali and Adams, a much, much more effective unit. And we'll get to that. But what's underrated to me, and just as important as anything that happened tonight, is Dupre stepped in and for the first time stabilized the entire defense corps, I thought.
Right. We had 6 guys that could play legitimate minutes. And I'm looking up his minutes right now. But,
he played with Letang
14 minutes.
Whole game.
Yeah, 14 minutes. And look, you were right on this point. I'll give you credit because I didn't see the Islanders as being necessarily a bad matchup for the Pens. I never thought that the Pens were guaranteed to win, but I would have preferred the Islanders the same as any other team we could have played. But you were right. Their speed has given the Penguins a big problem. That's what you get Tanner Glass out of there and upgrade him with Kennedy. You get Bennett out and upgrade him with Joe Vitale and Eaton out for Dupre. And now we're all of a sudden just as fast as the Islanders for the most part, save for Brendan Morrow and Brandon Sutter probably. Everybody else on our team is fast now.
Yeah, the other thing that makes the Islanders dangerous, aside from the fact that they are fast, is we make them faster when we have poor spacing in the neutral zone and the defensive zone. And you still saw a little bit of that tonight, although we improved as the game went on. Particularly Tavares' line, when that guy gets the puck, Doug Murray backs up like into the goalie. Tavares is about 30 feet of ice to wind up. Same thing with Okposo, same thing with Grabner. So that's something we really, I know we're conscious of it, and they want to have better spacing, but for whatever reason against this team, that's proven difficult for the Pens.
Yeah, it's a little bit reminiscent of the way we've defended Ovechkin over the years, although it's gotten better recently. But just backing up, and it's like at some point he's now at the face-off dot, and you're screening the goalie. So it's better to step up and try to slow him down, especially a guy like Tavares who isn't the fastest skater in the world. He's not going to overpower you with skating. I mean, his hands were great when he was walking around Martin. But if Martin there should have stepped up and pushed him in the chest, and then it's a different move. So
right, exactly. The other thing I thought that is giving the Pens their mojo back is the shift that we've been talking about for days from early in this series, maybe since before the series we've been talking about it, going to Sid, Iginla, Dupuis, and reuniting that Gino, Neal, and Kunitz line. For the first time in a long time, that Malkin, Neal, and Kunitz line looked like the unit that we saw when Sid was out for the long term, when they were just dominating the league. I thought one of the most encouraging parts about the night was seeing them just cycle the puck like the old days.
How good is Chris Kunitz, man? He's so good. He's so good. It's a sad fact that you kind of have to baby Malkin a little bit, and he's not comfortable, or when he's not comfortable, it's obvious. And
Right.
even though Iginla had 7 points in 4 games, and I kind of thought this whole Iginla not working out with Malkin thing was a little bit overrated, the truth is to get the most out of Malkin, you need Kunitz with him. Crosby's going to be all right without him. Crosby is great with Kunitz. I think he's better with Kunitz than he is without him, obviously. But if you have to baby Malkin a little bit to get a solid, in this offensive zone type of performance out of him, then you got to do it. I didn't have a problem. I thought it was good. And Sid and Iginla had a little bit of chemistry, not a ton, but they're going to get better. If we can just get a few more, if we win this series, if we're fortunate enough to do that and get a few more games under our belt, then I could see those two taking off together.
I don't think you're going to have to wait until next series. Watch what happens in Game 6. Sid and Iginla were close tonight. They were close to connecting a couple of times. What I have in mind, I don't remember if it was the second or third period, but Sid had the puck with his face towards the boards, but he knew Iginla was cutting right down the slot, and he tried to feed him a flat backhander, but the puck was bouncing a bit. And Iginla had to whack it out of midair. That pass is going to connect. And I think next game we're going to see some chemistry between those two.
Well, they're both Hall of Fame players, so it's hard.
They're going to take off.
Yeah, it's hard to not have chemistry between the two of them. They're just both so good individually. But you raise an interesting point about the bouncing puck. What is up with the ice at Consol? It's always bouncing the puck. Do they not understand? Spend another $1 million to fix the ice, or however much it costs. It's going to pay dividends because the team is going to be better if the ice is better. The puck is just rolling around on the ice there. It's terrible.
I don't profess to know what the issue is there. I remember we did a post about it probably 2 years ago about how bad this ice was. And the ice has been bad at Nassau County Coliseum.
You know what we should do? We should get the ice guy from Edmonton on the podcast.
Get him on the podcast. Ask him to tell us his secret.
It's something Craig, I think. We got to find him on Twitter and see if we can get him on to tell us, we'll just go through one by one all 30 arenas in the NHL. What's the secret here? What's going on with this rink? Who's at fault here?
That would be fascinating. But back to the game, I think that for the first time we saw – this didn't even really happen in Game 1. I mean, the Isles were on their heels, but this game we saw that the Penguins were really in their head. With the Matt Martin, Paul Martin exchange. At the end, somebody elbowed Sutter in the face. The Hamonic penalty at the end. By the way, how much do we hate Travis Hamonic at this point?
Yeah.
He's got one of those faces. He's just repellent. He's repugnant.
Right. Completely hateable player. Very easy
I hate that guy.
I know, but they looked a little bit lost without Andrew McDonald out there. That's a huge, huge injury for them. I mean, that's like if Paul Martin went out for the Penguins. Guy plays 25 minutes a night. He's not spectacular, but he's their prime minister. He's the prime minister of Long Island.
What an honor to hold that position.
Here's what I would say if I'm an Islanders fan trying to spin this positively. There's a model for this game. And that's the 2009 Stanley Cup Finals Penguins-Red Wings Game 5, which we watched together. The Pens got run out of the building in Detroit. Had the single worst game they played that entire playoffs. And it looked very, very bleak. And they came back and won a tight one in Game 6. And I think that's when Mario sent the text message before Game 7. He was in the locker room after Game 5. That's what happened. But it's still one game, and if you're the Islanders, you say to yourself, yeah, we lost Game 1 5-0. We got run out of the building, and we came back and won. So they're not out of it. This series is far from over.
Far from over. Is there any question about who you start in goal in Game 6?
No. That's an obvious one. You start Fleury.
Is there any question if we win Game 6?
I want somebody to write in all pissed off about that I said that. No, of course you start Vokoun. It's obvious.
You roll with him. You just roll with him from here on out. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, if you're going to bring Fleury back for a game, would you do it on the road in the Coliseum where they're going to chant his name the whole game and throw stuff at him?
You're turning this around on me. I'm asking the questions here.
No, I wouldn't even consider. I would, if I'm Bilesma, I would have worn a Thomas Falcoon jersey to my press conference tonight if I was Bilesma.
Yeah. Do you agree with me that this is the defense that we go with going forward?
At least for this series. I mean, if we're fortunate enough to get through this series, then maybe Dupre isn't the right answer against a bigger, more punishing team physically. I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look at who we're playing, but for next game, yeah. Why would you change anything from this game? I think Vitale plays, Kennedy plays, and Dupre plays.
Yeah, I don't see Dupre sitting down if he plays at this level. I thought he was very, very good tonight. And you know what? He stabilized Chris Letang quite a bit. Letang had his best game since game one. And he wasn't great, mind you. He had some, miscues in this game and did some completely inexplicable things, like consistently going in on the forecheck.
He was below the goal line like 8 times tonight.
Yeah, I just don't know if they try to rein him in, they give him the green light like he's a super fast base stealer that always has the green. I don't know, but it just doesn't make sense to me to constantly go in on the forecheck when you're a defenseman and Michael Grabner's on the ice. Just don't understand that.
No, but if anyone can do it and get back, it's Letang.
True, and he made some spectacular plays. The lead pass to Kennedy, unbelievable, world class.
Right, he's a world-class player when he decides to play like a world-class player.
We'd also be remiss if we didn't mention the ridiculous backhand saucer pass by Sid to Letang on the 4th goal.
Yeah, well, that's become routine. It seems
that's
like
just
it's routine.
Par for the course.
It is. So it's a great win, and I think that you can now have a little bit of breathing room going into Game 6. Obviously, going into Long Island down 3-2 would have been abject horror for me over the next 2 days. This makes me feel a little bit better. I'm optimistic. I'm very encouraged by the team's bounce back ability, and I think we gave the bounce back ability to the Penguins in the tail of the tape.
Yeah, and that was well deserved. It's just the playoffs are just so unbelievable. Every day is like its own lifetime. It's just remarkable.
I know, but tomorrow I can actually read things on the internet because I won't be depressed about the game.
Yeah, spring in the step tomorrow morning. All right. Good times tonight, everybody. We deserve it. The Isles fans may think they deserve Game 4. I know we deserve Game 5. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, GTOG.